No, you're kidding me, bro. What's happening? What the heck, dude? I don't even know. I can't even get this to play right now. Because when I hit play, I just fall through the world now. So that's new. And then, oh my God. We did it, boys.
Hey guys, Threshus here. A couple weeks ago I made a video called I Want to Make Video Games. Since I've made that video, I've used a decision maker tool to determine what engine I would use, and it landed on Unreal Engine. And then I used the same tool to tell me whether I was going to write C++ or use blueprints. And for some reason, with every single time I tried, it kept saying blueprints, and I could never get it to land on C++, no matter how bad I actually wanted to do C++. Now, if you watched that video I mentioned earlier, I said that I had already made about the same amount of progress in the same game in both Unreal Engine and Unity. So I already had a base to work from, and the only problem was I started this project like 4 or 5 months ago.
This is what happens when you don't open a project for months at a time. You have to come back and like relearn where you were. Oh, I see. Duh. All right. So, okay, it's all coming back to me now.
So apparently, I had already had a first-person character that I could interact with items, and I had items, and some UI, and surprisingly, even like a shopping cart.
I have a shopping cart? Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute, brother. So if I buy one of these, I hit... I have a shopping cart! I don't remember doing this.
The next day I worked on setting up multiple levels and seeing how I would like to go about going from one level to another. And again, I'm stupid, so I don't know if this was the best option, but I went with level streaming. Basically, with level streaming, you have one big persistent level, and inside of this level you can have multiple other levels that you can basically just turn off and on. When you start the game, you start in the main persistent level, and at the start of the main level, when it loads in the home level for you to spawn in. And then you walk through this magic portal, which is a temporary travel mechanism, but it teleports you to this other location, and it unloads the level you were in and loads up the level that you wanted to go to. This all seems super jank, but it allows for the player stats like money to be transferred between levels.
That's not nothing. Tell you what, that is not nothing.
Now that I made a level loading system, as jank as it was, I now needed to make items spawn in that level. So I started by making a blueprint that would act as a spawnable spot or a spawn location. Right now, all of the items are about the same size and they fit on a similar shelf. But eventually I will have different sizes and types of spawners. So for this, I had to make the level iterate through all of the item spawn points and basically flip a coin, choosing randomly true or false to see if an item would be spawned in that location. And then I have to choose a random item with the spawnable tag to place there. And this worked great until it didn't.
Spawns me into map 2. What are the chances they're all 0? Huh. Well, now that's weird. Let me go back to here.
Once I got this working, I cleaned up by removing some of the items that were on the blue cubes that I had been testing with. I was so excited that I got the item spawning system to work, so I went to go test it out again, but this time nothing spawned. Like, what are the odds that every spawn location got a false in my random coin flip? So I tried it again and again, and still no items. I had to end stream to figure this out off camera. Eventually, what I found is that this level blueprint was looking for these items tagged with spawnable, but it wasn't looking in my file structure for items tagged with spawnable, it was looking in the level itself. I don't know how to make it look in my files, so the solution for now is I have to have every single one of the items that I want to be spawnable in that level in the level already. So I put them all below the level, far enough to where you can't see or interact with them, and that way they can be in the random spawn pool. Once I did this, everything was working fine.
When I go to the store level, items will randomly spawn. I don't have a whole lot. And then I can go back, and let's say if I give myself a bunch of money, if I have $500 and I go through, I still have $500. And if I look at something and I buy it, I have $496. I will still have that when I go back to the home base. So all of the problems I had were solved.
And now that I had a system to make infinite items and spawn them in, it was time to start thinking of an art style. I was between making a semi-realistic game and 3D scanning a bunch of random stuff into the game, or like a pseudo-cartoon, painted, hand-sketched look. I saw some potential legal problems in the 3D scanning aspect of things, like maybe scanning items that are patented or legally protected or had a brand on it wouldn't be the best idea. But if I made low-ish poly items and gave them a more stylized look, I could branch out to even non-realistic items as well, like maybe there's a fantasy store or something like that. So far, I've made a CD Walkman, let me know if you know what that is, handheld game system, and a DVD box set of Game of Thorns. Now, I think that these look fine enough, and I will be making an environment to match the style as well. I was really inspired by Choo Choo Charles, but in a brighter, less nightmarish way. Although making a horror game is in my bucket list. The hardest part of making my own assets was the scaling. Because the way that this works is the mesh has a scale that I set in Blender, and then I export that to Unreal, which has a different measurement system, and the actual static mesh in Unreal Engine and the mesh that I put inside the blueprint all have different scales as well, because the item on the shelf has to be scaled to a realistic size to make it look like, in this case, a CD Walkman size. But that scale, when I inspect the item, is too small, because when you inspect the item, it creates another instance of the static mesh, not the blueprint, in front of the player character. And then that's what you're looking at, is another instance of the mesh. And because those need to be two different sizes, the static mesh has one scale, and then I scale it up or down in the blueprint to make it fit the scale of the world, if that makes sense. And so that is where my Flipper Sim is right now. I have about a quarter of a working prototype. I just need to figure out an inventory system and how I want to handle items going from the shop to the home base, how to list them online to sell, and how I want to handle the shipping method. And then I would say I'd have a fully working prototype. I like to eventually have different types of stores, different item rates and drop rates and rarity systems. I think an item condition system would be cool as well, and maybe you could upgrade your base to have a workbench to fix items for a higher price. If you have any ideas or tips, please leave them in the comments. You can watch most of this process via my live streams on Twitch and YouTube. Please like and sub and ring the bell icon if you want to be a part of those live streams and know when those happen. I'll also leave a link to the Discord below. I have lots of talented artists in there. They typically work in Blender and make items for another game called Inzoi, but maybe you'll find somebody to collaborate with in there. But I would also like to make this a multi-talented community and get some devs in there as well. So thank you so much, and I'll